that's coming in as we are speaking for TMC leader Manik Bhattacharya. The Supreme Court rejects his plea, challenging his arrest by the Enforcement Directorate in the West Bengal teachers appointment scam. Even as this has happened, Mukul Rohatgi appeared for him, but a big blow for Manik Bhattacharya, who does not get the relief he was looking at from the top court. The Supreme Court earlier reserved order on the former chairman of the West Bengal Board of Primary Education and TMC leader assailing his arrest by the ED. The bench of Justice Bose and Justice Vikram Nath passes the order in the matter. He had challenged the custody that was given to the ED, but viewers, even more strong than this is what's been happening with this very controversial case in Calcutta as well, where we've seen the entire High Court has been embroiled in some sort of a controversy with certain severe words coming across the judge who was hearing this matter in Calcutta. The ED, remember, had done this after they seized 50 crore cash from 2 flats of Arpita Mukherjee, a close aide of Chatterjee. The ED arrested him. His ED had also arrested Partha Chatterjee, former state education minister. But the Manik Bhattacharya, who's in connection with the multi-crore teacher recruitment scam in West Bengal, was being arrested. The Supreme Court dismisses his plea for relief. The Supreme Court had to deliver its order on this bail plea. The bench has refused to give him any such relief. And I also want to go across, viewers, to what's really been happening in the order that was passed earlier by Justice Gangopadhyay in a petition that had alleged that State Primary Education Board had in 2017 destroyed OMR sheets of over 12.5 lakh candidates who'd written the 2014 TET when Bhattacharya, the now TMC MLA, was president of the body. So a lot of words had been given out at that time, and this was a petition that had first been filed before Justice Gangopadhyay of the Calcutta High Court on Tuesday, who directed him to appear before the CBI. There was a huge controversy over this. Manik Bhattacharya was then arrested by the ED. He came before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court refused to give him any relief. Over the past few months, viewers, we've seen politics in West Bengal have been rocked by this recruitment scam in which high-profile politicians, several officials have now been arrested. It's the Calcutta High Court judge who, of course, emerged as the center of this prevailing political storm when Justice Abhijit Gangopadhyay gave at least 10 orders directing the CBI to investigate the irregularities in the recruitment scam. All that happened, and then after that, we saw this case coming to the Supreme Court, and a big blow to Manik Bhattacharya from the top court is the TMC MLA has been arrested by the ED in connection with the multi-crore teacher recruitment scam. The Supreme Court clearly dismisses his plea. They are not going to be interfering, and a big setback to him coming from the Supreme Court that has rejected and is challenging his arrest by the Enforcement Directorate.
Of course, this is a huge setback as the Supreme Court has dismissed the application challenging Manik Bhattacharya's arrest now in the teacher's appointment scam, of course. But just to talk about his role a bit and to break that down in this entire recruitment scam, if you could talk to us about that.
Sure. So let me just actually tell you what's been happening in the recruitment scam as I was speaking. He was the chairman of the West Bengal Board of Primary Education, removed from his post earlier by the Calcutta High Court for his involvement in June in the scam this year. He's the second TMC legislature to have been arrested by the ED in connection with the scam. The ED had seized 50 crore rupees, viewers, from 2 flats of Arpita Mukherjee, a close aide of Chatterjee.
Well, talking about the fact that this, the Supreme Court has dismissed the application challenging his arrest. Now, where does that currently stand? If you could give us more details about this latest development that is coming in.
So let me tell you, on September of 27, the court had ordered not to take any coercive steps in the Calcutta High Court much earlier. The Supreme Court had to, on the 17th of October earlier, give its order. It's now gone across to the 19th of October. The ED had arrested him in connection with a multi-crore teacher recruitment scam. He was the chairman at that time of the recruitment board. The ED was probing this scam, had earlier summoned Manik Bhattacharya. They'd arrested him and former Education Minister Partha Chatterjee and his close aide Arpita Mukherjee. So a big political storm in the state of West Bengal that had reached the top court after the arrest of the former Primary Education Board chief Manik Bhattacharya. As I said, 10 orders passed in the Calcutta High Court by Justice Gangopadhyay, who directed him to appear before the CBI earlier. The judge also asked the agency at that time to find out under which law he had destroyed the optimal mark recognition of 12.5 lakh to 20 odd lakh candidates who'd written the 2014 teachers eligibility test for government aided primary schools. Hours after this was passed, SLP had been passed in the Supreme Court. Bhattacharya had rushed there. The apex court fixed the court for hearing. They heard the case, but ED had later arrested him. This was a political storm in the state. As I stated, the investigation in this had led to the arrest of former Minister Partha Chatterjee, the recovery and seizure of movable and immovable properties worth 103.7 crore rupees, and there were sitting vice chancellors at the West Bengal Education Department, several people who were looking at this. But this case came to highlight the corruption that was seen in the recruitment scam. And I'd also like to tell our viewers the details. The ED had earlier told the Supreme Court that his arrest should continue because he's a prime accused in the money laundering case that relates to the appointment of primary teachers. In the petition, the investigating agency had not even informed the family members. All right, so these are the Manik Bhattacharya in his petition, viewers, had told the court that his custody is not needed. He's trying to make out grounds that the ED's action was a violation of the orders of the Supreme Court. But after hearing the ED's very strong case against Manik Bhattacharya, the court refuses to give him any relief. He challenged his arrest, but the Supreme Court dismisses the plea of former West Bengal Board of Primary Education head, Trinamool Congress leader Manik Bhattacharya.
Right, Rhythm Anand Bhardwaj, of course, continues to be with us. Rhythm, good morning. Rhythm, the basic contention that Manik Bhattacharya had was the fact that he had been provided relief against arrest from the CBI, but this was a case that the ED was investigating in the first place. So in that sense, legally, obviously, the ED could have gone ahead and acted upon against him.
Yes, absolutely. So this is the bench, Nupur, of Justice Bose and Vikram Nath, who heard the matter. It was argued by senior advocate Mukul Rohgi, who appeared for Manik Bhattacharya, that court had granted him protection from arrest in the CBI matter. The ED, they said, is piggy riding upon the CBI investigation. Rohgi pointed out certain things that at the end of the day, we're in the highest court of the country and the remand is illegal. He also pointed out there was an attempt to cloud the judgment by saying large sums of money had been recovered. And Solicitor General of India, the top law officer of the country, Tushar Mehta, appeared for the ED, refuted arguments forwarded by Rohgi. Very, very emphatically, the SG stated it's an independent investigation by an independent agency. He said, look at the host of material and the findings of the court, and now he wants to be released. We are dealing with very high-level officials. Nupur, as I said, it's a political storm had been created after the recruitment scam in the state of West Bengal. It had rocked the state of West Bengal. The Education Minister in West Bengal, Partha Chatterjee, his aide Arpita Chatterjee, had also been arrested. Manik Bhattacharya was arrested on 10th of October 2022, and the Education Minister Arpita had been arrested in July of 2022. So politically very important case that has to be seen. But when it comes to the High Court, we also remember how the Calcutta High Court had passed sometimes suo motu orders, sometimes 10 orders asking for the CBI to investigate Manik Bhattacharya, and the entire controversy that had broken out at that time. And earlier we've seen a lot of controversy with the Supreme Court refusing to give any relief to Manik Bhattacharya.
Now, Rhythm, the ED also in its affidavit before the court, of course, has ascertained that it's extremely important for them to essentially question Manik Bhattacharya because he was, the chairman of the Primary Education Board for a period of about 10 years. That began in 2011, of course, and about 58,000 primary teachers were actually recruited during his tenure.
Yes, and Nupur, we remember what the ED is doing here after the CBI conducted its investigation and the very, very corrupt corruption that was seen in the recruitment scam in West Bengal. The ED was tracking the money trail in the scam. The CBI was looking at the irregularities committed, and it's alleged several people who fared poorly were hired as teachers in exchange for lakhs of rupees while the eligible candidates were overlooked. So that's the main allegation that came across, after which there was arrest of the former West Bengal education minister in the SSC recruitment scam, as to say. We have to now see, as the Supreme Court upholds TMC MLA's arrest in this case. They've basically dismissed the plea. So this is going to be seen as a big blow for Manik Bhattacharya, who the ED told the Supreme Court was the key person in the teacher recruitment irregularities. In fact, if I can go across to what had been stated in the court, the ED submitted, and this is the kind of evidence there is against Manik Bhattacharya. The ED submitted investigation under PMLA has revealed the role of Dr. Bhattacharya as one of the key people in the entire scam of offering jobs in lieu of money. The ED in its affidavit said it had been ascertained Manik headed the West Bengal Education Board for a period of more than 10 years, starting from 2011, during which more than 58,000 primary teachers were recruited through the board. In the affidavit that they filed before the Supreme Court, the ED opposed his plea challenging his arrest. Manik Bhattacharya remained uncooperative, they said, and he said they continuously trying to mislead the investigation, Nupur. Finally, the ED in its affidavit submitted that there were high-value transactions that were required to be done to unearth the money trail and identify the proceeds of crime. They mentioned that more than 50 crore rupees had been seized during the searches conducted in July this year.
Oh yes, absolutely. As Rhythm is pointing out, who can forget that stacks of cash that had been seen. 50 crore rupees in cash was actually brought back and seized during the raids that were being conducted in the month of July 2022. As Rhythm is pointing out, of course, there's been quite a political storm over these two high-profile arrests in this particular case. Today, of course, the Supreme Court has upheld the arrest of Manik Bhattacharya by the Enforcement Directorate. Thank you, Rhythm, for joining us.